This is Module 4, and we're going to learn about risk selection. In this section, you will learn about underwriting, underwriting factors, sources of information, classifications of risks, and liens. Move on to learn more. We will begin with underwriting. This is the process of risk appraisal. Risks in insurance are the hazards on people's lives. Underwriting is done to prevent anti-selection. And anti-selection means the tendency of some people with health impairments or hazardous occupations to apply for life insurance. In other words, underwriting is the process of agreeing to bear the financial risk inherent in an insurance contract. The term underwriting came from an early insurance market in London called Lloyd's of London, founded in 1688. Here in Lloyd's, financial bankers were given a fee to quite literally write their names under the risk they were willing to take or accept as identified in the Lloyd's documents. Insurance underwriters assess the risk that is being insured based on a set of criteria or qualifiers. There are two kinds of underwriters: home office and field underwriter. The field underwriters are the distributors, and it's their duty to make sure that they find out as much as they can about the client discreetly to safeguard against anti-selection. Here's an example. This is Paul. He's been suffering a serious case of diabetes for years and has been given a few months to live. Realizing how much debt the treatments have incurred and the burden it'll be on his family, he decides to get insurance. Upon application, he lies about the disease and says he's healthy. However, upon checking with the Medical Information Bureau, the underwriters found out that he is in fact uninsurable. The company faces a critical downside if distributors are negligent about this fact. In a worst case, some might already know but will not report it. When the company eventually finds out that the information is false or that the client is uninsurable after the application is approved, premiums will be returned. More on this in Module 5. Here are the underwriting factors. These considerations are reviewed and qualified by the underwriting team. Physical factors include age, build, family history, physical condition, and personal medical history. Age is important to consider in underwriting because the chances of illness are greater as one ages. Build is proportion of height, weight, and girth. When height, weight, and girth are not proportional, they pose as added health risks. Family history. This can provide information on sickness or causes of eventual death of other family members. This can be due to the fact that as a family that lives together, they are exposed to the same elements in the environment in which they live. This could also serve as a way to find out if they are predisposed to the same illnesses and conditions. Physical condition. There will be very observable physical conditions in those who have and who potentially can suffer from life-threatening diseases. For example, stroke victims will have slurred speech, paralysis, numbness, and loss of muscular control. Yellowish skin or eyes could be signs of hepatitis. Smokers would have dark lips and yellowish teeth. Personal medical history includes hospitalization and sickness during an individual's lifetime. It's important because some conditions may recur, or some illnesses could be signs of greater health risks. For example, tonsillitis could lead to heart disease, and diabetes could lead to kidney failure. Occupational factors. These can raise the risk of death, sickness, or disability. There are those with occupations that are accident-prone, like field engineers, soldiers, and seamen. There are some that expose workers to unhealthy working conditions, like miners, factory workers, and builders. Financial factors. Also a consideration in the underwriting of an application for purposes of determining the need for insurance and the capacity to pay and sustain premium payments. Morals. These are behaviors that decrease the lifespan of an individual and increase the risk of death. Examples are infidelity of a spouse, alcoholism, drug addiction, and gambling. Avocation. This pertains to hobbies or activities that can increase the risk of disability, sickness, or even death. Examples of these extreme hobbies are mountain climbing, diving, base jumping, skydiving, and all forms of motorized racing. Extra premiums may be paid to cover risks of customers engaging in these types of avocations. Residence and travel. Residence, place of work, and travel may increase life's risks. Individuals residing in areas with unhealthy living conditions, unstable peace and order situations, and chaotic places like nightclubs, where the potential for violence is always present. Agents observe and gather information based on the factors for consideration in underwriting policies. All this information must be gathered from reliable sources. The agent, the company's representative, whose role is to make observations and gather information about the customer that'll help in risk assessment. The application form contains all customer information material to risk assessment. Information declared is considered as representations, which are held true at the time of application only, and not considered as promissory warranties. A promissory warranty is a statement about future facts, or facts that will continue to be true throughout the policy term. Medical examiner conducts physical checkup for the purpose of getting a life insurance policy to determine current health condition and medical history. Attending physician, the statement of the date of illness, diagnosis and treatment, duration of the illness, and date of relapse or recurrence is important in underwriting risks. The inspection report summarizes information about the applicant for a policy, including financial standing, morals, physical condition, habits, and other information. Financial report may be composed of income tax return or annual statements, which could support the customer's statement of income to determine appropriate coverage and prove the customer's capability to pay premiums. Medical Information Bureau, also known as the cleaning house of all insurance companies. Information about declined applicants from member companies is stored in their database for use by other insurance companies in evaluation of new applicants. Information is in a coded database accessed only by authorized individuals in the company. Classifications of risk. A customer's risk can be classified as standard, substandard, declined, or postponed. Standard risk is when a person has less of the usual tendencies of getting sick or being disabled. Substandard risk, a person who has more of the usual tendencies of getting sick and being disabled. We can still accept substandard risk, and to compensate for this, it is classified further as modified or rated. Modified coverage. Some provisions of the plan are limited. For example, riders may be removed or liens may be enforced. Rated coverage. The risk may be accepted but additional premiums are required, such as an extra premium of 5 or 10 per thousand of coverage. Pregnancy extra is an example of rated coverage where the insured is given an option to pay extra premiums amounting to 5 per thousand of coverage to cover pregnancy-related deaths. Declined. Cases where the risk of a person applying for a policy is too high to be assumed by the company. In this case, it will be declined. Postponed. Instances when the company cannot accept the risk of the person at the time of application, but may still be reconsidered after a certain amount of time. For example, a company can opt to not accept an applicant who is 7 months pregnant, but may be reconsidered 2 months later after giving birth. Liens. The company may still provide coverage to substandard cases. As a means to limit the company's risk exposure, liens are applied. Liens are limitations in coverage. Juvenile lien. A limitation in coverage for children below 6 years old. The death benefit will be limited to a certain percentage of the sum insured if death occurs under the age of 6. Pregnancy lien. A limitation in coverage for pregnant women. Should death occur as the insured is giving birth, only a return of premiums will be paid. A pregnancy extra can be offered to cover the risks of pregnancy, and the customer pays extra premiums. Aviation lien. Limitation in coverage for civilian or military personnel engaged in flying. The insured can be offered to pay extra premiums to cover this risk. People from different walks of life will have different risks. The company will need gates to ensure that risks are within acceptable limits. In this way, we will not encounter adverse claims in the future that may affect business expense. You have just completed Module 4, Risk Selection.